Well, thank you for stopping in tonight. This is going to be a fun time, but I don't want to discourage you, but there's a lot to know in self-publishing your own book. But we can take baby steps at another time. Tonight, I'm just going to throw it all at you, and you try to take in what you can, and what you can't, we can talk again later. So, how to self-publish my book. Here we go. So if you will all mute yourself for now, so that we don't have any background noise, and then as you ask questions, you can type it into the chat, and Jeanette can kind of monitor that, and I'll take questions later. So you might write them down so that at least I can get through everything, and then we'll have hopefully time for questions and answers. Okay, here we go. So, is my book ready to be published? That is a key element here. You need to be sure that it's ready to be published. And what do I mean by that? Is it really ready to be published? Because as everyone knows, we need to revise, then revise again. Self-publishing got a terrible rap at the very beginning when it started in, because people were throwing books up there on Amazon so quickly, and they were not revised. They were not, I mean, misspelled words. They were just all riddled with grammatical errors, with content errors and all, and it just gave us all a really bad rap. So, but over the years, self-publishing has gotten with the program, and we know that there has to be a lot of revising in our books, and we know there has to be some kind of editing to our books. So E.B. White wrote over 20 books, author of Charlotte's Web, said an editor is a person who knows more about writing than writers do, but who has this, I've got the pictures that are covering it up, but who has escaped the terrible desire to write. So editors can tell us where we've gone wrong, but they may not always have that desire to write for themselves. So I want to show you, this is not a fun thing to show people, but this is my first edit that was done. This was the first, my first book that was edited. This is just 2 pages. And the other over 200 pages were all the same way. But I was so glad that Kendra, who did my first edit, didn't use red. She didn't make me bleed all over, but it made me realize I was not ready. And it probably took me another 2 years to get my manuscript ready. So when we talk about editing and being ready to publish, I think your must read, I'm an old English teacher who I would, if you were my students in my English classroom, this would be required reading. Stephen King on writing. This is, to me, one of the very best books out there. It is a memoir of fashion, but yet he gives you so much information on writing. And he said, to write is human, to edit is divine. So we're going to start with the editing here, because that is most important here. So first of all, there are 2 very free and very easy to use tools that you have right within your computer. First one is Google. Because Karen keeps trying to come in. Come on, Karen, you can do it. But Google, all right, so if you're not familiar with Google, it's up near your email address to the right-hand side. It's those 9 little dots, and you just click on it to the Google Docs, upload any one of your documents, and when you get in here, you go to Tools, Spelling and Grammar, and then this is going to show you where your mistakes are. I'll move this over here. This will show, and so you see what's highlighted here, Shears. My maiden name was Shear, S-H-E-E-R, so I misspelled this. It should have been Shears. So you see, all you have to do is, you as the final decision maker on this, you either choose to accept that correction or you ignore it, okay? That's Google Docs. I would run your documents through Google Docs first. Then the next step, another free step, is your word processor. The word check is another great place, and you'll find that Google will catch some mistakes that Word doesn't, and vice versa. So I would run your manuscript through both of those. Here, when you're on Word, you just go to Review, and over here on the, I have to keep moving all of our pictures. Over here, you see here, there's spelling and grammar. You can right-click on that, and it brings up this screen, and you can customize what you want Word to look for. For me, I always want one space between sentences, not two. I want Word to look for some of those, like being verbs. It'll look for being verbs that you want to make sure you want to get rid of a lot of those. You want to look for ly words. So anything you want to look for, you set it up in that process, in that drop down. Okay, so those are two free forms. There's also Grammarly, there's Pro Writing Aid. There are a lot of different things to use out there that you pay for. But then once you have done both of those, your Google Doc and your Word, then your next thing is the true editor, or before that, I should say, critique partner. Now, Hill Country Christian Writers has a group that has in the past been meeting at the library every Tuesday night at 6, but we're now meeting on Zoom. So if you shoot me an email, I can put you on that. Somebody's having problems getting in. But anyway, so shoot me an email or you to the library, and they will get you in contact with me. And this is a group of like-minded authors who get together and critique each other's. There are two different types of writing groups. One is that warm, fuzzy, where everybody sits around and says, oh, that was so sweet, that was so wonderful, and oh my goodness, that's not very helpful. It really helps you feel good, but it's not helpful in the long run. So the critique partners that I work with are very nice, very complimentary, and yet they will let you know when they don't understand what you're saying, or that maybe a sentence is wonky. And then you can go home and do whatever you want to do with it. You can accept or reject their suggestions. After you take your manuscript through critique partners, there are beta readers. Now you can go into Goodreads and find a lot of free beta readers. Beta readers are people who just love to read. They are set up according to genres. So if you're writing a sci-fi, you would look for sci-fi beta reader in Google or in Goodreads. And some of them I have paid twice because I wanted a certain type of beta reader, someone who is familiar with memoir and familiar with journal style. And so I paid, I think, $7 for one and $10 for the other, something like that. But it's very, very cheap to do that. Okay, once you've done that, then you have a content or developmental edit. This person looks at your setting, at your character, your plot, your dates. If you have a book set in the 1950s, you don't want a character walking down the street pulling out their cell phone. That's what a content edit does for you. They look at those. Or you don't want someone set in the 80s wearing his derby hat, or something like that. Because those content editors, they pick up on those things, and they will research not for you, but they'll look at something, they'll say, well, no, wait, that doesn't make sense, and then they'll go in and they'll research it to make sure that they're right. The next one is a copy line edit, your grammar, your syntax. Syntax is the structure of a sentence or paragraph. Transition, how do you transition from one scene to the next, from one paragraph to the next? How do you transition from the end of one chapter to the beginning of the other? I just edited a book by Susan Dolan, one in our critique group, and she had a great, at the end of each chapter, her hook at the end of each chapter was awesome because it just made you want to go on to the next chapter. That's what a copy line edit does for you. Do you have the right hook to go on? And tone and style. If you are, say it's a first person narrative, this sweet teenage girl is telling the story, well, does the tone of your story stay in that character? So after those two edits, and usually it's two different editors, but it can be all together. Now, if you were doing a traditionally published book, and we're not talking about traditionally published here today, but if you did a traditionally published book, it would go through at least 3 professional edits. It would be the content development, it would be the proofreader, it'd be all these 3, the content, the copy, and the proofread. At the end, the proofread is just an overall look. You know, they're going to catch what the other 2 didn't, and that happens. And then the last, your ARCs, they're advanced reader copies. So say you have, and friends aren't always, just give you a bonus tip here, friends aren't always the best ones to read your manuscript because they don't want to hurt your feelings. So if you, maybe you have a friend who knows of somebody who would love to read that genre, you've written a memoir, you've written sci-fi, you've written a historical fiction, and they say, I have a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, that sort of thing. That's a person you want. You can also find them on Goodreads, the ARCs. And I believe there's a Facebook page for ARCs too, Advanced Reader Copies. And what you do, you just send your manuscript to them. You can send it digital and just send it to them. And they will read it. And many times you can get reviews from them. And we'll talk about reviews a little later. All right. Okay, so after all that done, your edit is done, it's a perfect manuscript. So now, metadata is king. So, you know what metadata is. It's a big word, it's scary because it just has lots of puzzle pieces to it. A lot of things to consider. First of all, you need to research your title. Go to Amazon, put your title in, see all the 100 other people who have thought of that same title. And so you may want to just kind of twist it a little bit so it's not exactly like another one. Or you can just put it on Google, your Google search, and see what comes up. Also, you Google your subtitle too, or Amazon. And consider keywords. And we're going to be talking about keywords in a minute, but keywords should go in your subtitle. In other words, you know, when you go to find, say you're looking for a beautician or a nail salon. So there are certain words you put in your Google search. You say nail salon in Spring Branch, Texas, or nail salon in Bulverde, Texas, whatever. And these keywords are what words people would look for if they're trying to find the type of book that you've written. So you need to consider your subtitle with those keywords. Next part of metadata, paperback, ebook, hardback, audiobook. Is it going to be all 4? If so, you need at least 3 ISBNs. You don't need one for ebook, but a lot of people still like it for the ebook. Think about the number of pages, number of words, because number of pages and your spacing has a lot to do with the number of pages. If you say you have a book that's 60,000 words, you only want to do single space and a 6x9, all of this kind of works in as to how thick that book is going to be. And that's a whole nother seminar. Your cover, is it matte or is it glossy? This is a personal preference. Really doesn't, like, I think for journals, I like the matte finish for journals. You know, it's really a preference, whatever you think would go best with your genre. And paper, your interior paper, white or cream. Usually cream is for fiction, white is for nonfiction, but not always, not always. Okay, more metadata. All right, we're just getting ready, getting going here now. Copyright page. How are you going to set up your copyright page so that you let people know that if this is fiction, that you haven't modeled this after anybody? You are not insinuating that a certain character in your book is the person, you know, somebody, whatever. Also, Bible scripture. If you use Bible scripture, this is a good place to put what version you're using. Unless you're doing different versions throughout your Bible, then you have, or throughout your book, then you have to mention it each time. Anyway, we'll get into that a little later too. You need a short description as well as a full description. When I say characters, characters include spaces between sentences, apostrophes, all of that. That's all characters. So 350 characters max in your short description, full description, 350 to 4,000. Now, this only comes in play when you do an Ingram Sparks book, a hardcover, all right? Except, yeah, your short description many times will go on the back side of your cover, whereas your full description is what you want to show up on Amazon. You know, when you click into a book and it has the full description there, that's what you want to show up there. It's good to use bullet points, even if it's fiction, because the eye goes to bullet points. Number of pictures. All right, need to talk about pictures here because you need to make sure that any pictures you use are free for commercial use. You can't just go online and grab any picture you want. Al Bates and I went through this with his book on the lighthouse. There's two different things you can look at is Pixabay. Those are free, most of those, and it will say on the right-hand side, free for commercial use. You can use those. And there are thousands, probably millions of pictures on Pixabay. So I use Pixabay a lot. And Unsplash.com is another one. I have not used that, but I've heard that that's another good site for free ones too. And then fonts. Would you believe it that you need to find free, commercial use free, how am I saying that? Free for commercial use fonts. Even the fonts that are on that come in your word processor, they aren't all free. Some of them are, but some of them are not. So you'd be surprised how many, you know, people are looking to see, oh, I created that font, and they can come back and sue you if you are using their font without their permission or without having paid them. So here are a few places where you can go. Font Squirrel, 1001 Fonts, or Font Space. Many of those are free, and then you just upload them to your processor. Also, you need to know your series number and name. If this is going to be a series like I'm doing, I kind of took a rabbit trail here, and I'm doing puzzle books, like word search books and trivia books and like that. So I have a series number because I have a series going on of these. And it's always nice if you can, if you're writing novels, it's always nice if you can have more than one book, 2 or 3 book series. Okay, let me see where we are. All right, keywords. We're talking about keywords. This is my page, my KDP, one of my pages. This was my journal for positive aging that I did a couple years ago. 7 keywords are allowed here on your KDP. These can be researched through a couple different sources. You can research them through Google, you can research them through Amazon, whatever, but these are the words that you think people would most likely put in the Google search bar or the Amazon search bar when they're looking. Somebody wants a maybe a gift for their parents. All right, so, or maybe the story journal for parents, or write your story, senior citizen gift ideas. These are things that I kind of thought that people might use. And since it's humorous and humor brings in a lot of traffic, old age humor. And I say 7 to 1,000 keywords, and we'll get into the 1,000, do I bring that up? No. So you can have up to 1,000 keywords when you're advertising. If you use Amazon advertising, I would, once your book is up and you let it go 2 or 3 months and get those initial sales, and then you can go into Amazon advertising. It's not very expensive. It's like, you can put in, okay, I'll pay 13 cents per click. Anytime somebody clicks on your book, you pay, whatever. But you don't pay unless somebody clicks on it. That again is another seminar to get into. Okay, but wait, there's more metadata. What genre is it? Who's your audience? If you were going to a traditional publisher, that's one of the very first things that they would ask you. I recently worked with a lady and her husband who went through this incurable cancer and their journey, and they wrote about their journey. And my first question was, what or who is your audience? And their audience was people in pain and their caregivers, their loved ones. So know who your audience is, because that's who you want to target, especially with your keywords. Okay, contributors. Write a great author bio. Write your author bio as a sales piece, because people don't really care where you were born or who your 5th grade teacher was. What they want to know is how you know so much about writing this book. What's in it for them? It's a shame, but as the times go along, we're more interested in what's in it for me. So when you start writing your book, you're no longer really writing it for yourself. You're writing it for the reader. So what's in it for the reader? Your author bio can have up to 4,000 characters maximum. But what's in it for that person? But at the end of your bio, then you do need to say something like, I don't know, I think I have something like, Judy Waters lives with her husband in Spring Branch, Texas, and along with her 3 children and one daughter-in-law, 2 grandcats, 1 grandchild, and a rescue one-eyed dog. They're making more memories, something like that. It's just something real catchy. What other previous works have you done? Location, where are you? Spring Branch, you don't have to say Texas. Affiliations, are you involved with San Antonio Christian Writers Group? Are you involved with Hill Country Christian Writers Group? Are you involved with, what is that? American romance novels? There are a lot of different organizations you can join. That kind of looks good here. Also, if you have an illustrator, one of my books has an illustrator who was a past student of mine, English student, and she illustrated my one of my books. So I, put in everything you can about that illustrator too. Okay, and more. Consider these things. The foreword, and make sure you spell forward properly. It's spelled 500 different ways. This is the right way. And acknowledgement, make sure that's spelled the correct way. The E, if you put an E in here, that's a British spelling. Dedication, preface. Okay, so the difference here. Here with acknowledgement, you want to acknowledge all those people along the way. Usually you acknowledge your family, you acknowledge your critique group, your I don't know, whoever. Maybe maybe you were writing about a cancer journey that you had, and you want to thank your doctor, for giving you more knowledge on the whole disease, whatever. All right, the difference between a preface and a forward, and I always get these mixed up, but a forward is written by someone else. Someone else is introducing your book. Say if you went through that journey through cancer, a doctor may do a forward saying how he knows you as the author, how he became acquainted with you, whatever. Where the preface is you writing about what they're going to read about. And I'll tell you this, a preface, a lot of people will just, they won't even scan it. You know, it's kind of lost. I think there are more wasted pages in books because there are prefaces. The forward could also go in the back of the book, whatever. The dedication, I personally think a dedication is very important. So if you're writing it, dedicating it to your husband, dedicating it to your wife, dedicating it to your whoever, your mom, your dad, I think it's just like one little blurb on a whole page. But I think that's really precious to do. Okay, moving right along. Review quotes are very important. You think, well, how am I going to get review quotes before it's even published? Well, it's those ARCs, your advanced reader copies, your beta readers. You can also, if you find, Facebook has so many different wonderful pages of authors who are happy to help you. They're writers, and I'll get into that later. But you may find someone who's doing the same genre as you, and you can swap books. Say, will you read mine, and I'll read yours. The problem is sometimes when you get into a swap, you always want to do a good review for the other person. But what if that other person's book is not that good, and you just don't feel like you can? Remember, if you do write a review for someone, you're putting your reputation on the line, saying, hey, this is a great book. So anyway, they are review quotes. I think it may have been Al's book. One of the books I did, the whole first page was reviews that she or he got from it was from their friends, but anyway, they had very nice friends who liked their book. Okay, so, and still more. BISAC subject lookup. You'll need to use that link for the BISAC subject. And when you get into KDP, it will have the drop down. The subject lookup is, it's family relationships, it's teenage problems, whatever. And you can't write anything in here. It's a drop down that you have to choose from. ISBNs. If you are only going to publish an ebook and a paperback, you don't need to purchase ISBNs if you're only going to be on KDP, on Amazon. Now, if you want to spread your wings a little more and go to Draft to Digital or Ingram Spark, then you will need ISBNs. And I believe they're still $125 a piece, $125 a piece, or you can buy 10 of them for $295. If you're just going to market your book on Amazon, Amazon will give you an Amazon, it's an ASIN, Amazon Search Identification Number. I think that's what it stands for. But you don't need to pay anything there. But remember, you can't take your book anywhere else if you do it. It wouldn't be on Barnes and Nobles if you use the Amazon number. Library of Congress control number is not necessary, but it doesn't cost anything. And what this does, you would use a PCN. What this does is allow libraries to catalog your book in the right way. So, it's a matter of you send it in to Library of Congress. You just request, you just ask for a cataloging and publication. They send you this CIP link that you're supposed to put on your book, and then if the PCN comes in time, you can put that on your book, but it's not necessary. But the library will know that they can catalog it according to Library of Congress. But you do have to remember to send them a copy of the book once it's published. This is all done before it's published. You cannot go back and do a Library of Congress number after it's published. So you have to request that before. Regional theme, again, this is another drop down on KDP or on Ingram Sparks. You know, where, like if your book is about Civil War time, where does this take place? So it would be, you know, South US, or maybe it's about, I don't know, whatever, the war in South Africa or whatever. It would give you the regional theme. Table of contents, usually a table of contents is only in a nonfiction. However, sometimes, and I'm seeing it more and more, it is in fiction. So that's optional, especially for the fiction writers out there. Retail price. Here again, you're going to have to figure this one out. If you go to KDP, I think it's Amazon, just Google Amazon calculator, Amazon print calculator. And you'll get a calculator to pop up, and you'll put in the number of pages, you'll put in the interior is color or it's black and white, whatever, and it'll tell you what the print price is, what you're going to pay for a printed book. Then you can go from there, you can triple the price, say it's $2.17, then you can triple that price or whatever you want to. So you need to decide what your price will be. Now, retail discount. You cannot, okay, I have to back up, because some people who have published on Amazon have been able to get their books in the brick and mortar stores. It's not as easy though. In order to get it in because brick and mortar stores, like your Barnes and Nobles, they want your book to be returnable. They're in the business of making money, of course. So if they order 10 copies of your book, and they don't know if it's going to sell or not, and after a month's time, 9 of them are still sitting there, they want that shelf space back. So they want to be able to send it back to you. However, you have to pay the postage. So it really digs into any kind of income that you might get. But on Ingram, if you go to Ingram Spark, you can put in there, if you want to do a 30% discount or 55% discount. 55% discount pretty much says to a bookstore, yes, we will go that deep. You have to consider, if you're giving up a 55% discount on your book, on top of that, you have to pay for the printing of that book. So to be able to do this, you need to make sure you really want to get it in that brick and mortar store. 85 to 90% of the books sold in the world today are sold on Amazon. So just keep that in mind. Amazon, it's a 60-40. You cannot request any less. On Ingram, you can request that to go down to 30%. So obviously no bookstore is going to pick it up, but at least you'd make a little more royalty there. Okay. Build your team. So that's all for metadata. I mean, I could have taken each one of those and really done 2 hours on each one. But build your team. These are 3 of the people that I love. I just love. YouTube, Keith Wheeler Books, he's awesome. You know, for me to learn, I have to have somebody who just kind of does one at a time, just goes through it, and the down-to-earth explanation. And that's what Keith Wheeler does. He has a free series on YouTube on how to do children's books. So I think there are 12 different videos, and his videos are not real long. That's what I like about him. So he's awesome. There's also Dale, Publishing with Dale Roberts. He is very much into, he does exercise books and all, but he's more into marketing now. And he also does the low content, no content books. I don't know if you ever heard of those books. Low content are like my no, not my puzzle books, but like a diary, a daily planner, a journal. You know, somebody had to actually write those, even though there's not many words in it. They had to design it. So he's into low content books and no content books. Have you ever bought a journal that's just lines? Somebody made money on that. So anyway, he does all that. Joanna Penn is awesome for everything. She's British, so she has that British little flair to her, but you learn a lot through her too. There's also one other I didn't put on here, is Hurricane Liz on YouTube. She kind of uses a potty mouth, so if you object to that, then maybe that's not the one for you, but the information she gives is really good. All right, so build your team. Remember, you need a beta reader, a formatter. I wouldn't scrimp on the formatter. To have somebody to format your manuscript, to make sure the title of your book is just right on the top of every page, the title, your name is right on, you know, it's just, there's so much that goes into formatting that it's well worth the money to hire somebody to do that. Cover designer. If you're artistic, and I'll show you something you can use for cover design, you can do your own. But to hire a good cover designer is worth its weight in gold. There's also Fiverr, Fiverr, which is, you put in there, you kind of audition people. I want a book cover with a dragon on it that's flying through the air and a little boy's flying on the back. And you put that description in there and you'll have 10, 20 people come back and say, yes, hire me, I'll do it. I just did a book for my first grandbaby, and it was the first time I hired an illustrator, and for $5 for each picture, $5, you can get a great illustrator. I think he was from Sri Lanka. A lot of these people are from out of the United States, and they do some great work. So YouTube videos, these are all YouTube videos. Go to YouTube and just start searching. Any question you have, just start searching. That's really a source of knowledge there. Okay, keywords. How do you find all these keywords? So Publisher Rocket is I paid for it, but it's an awesome thing because it not only helps you with keyword search, but your competition analyzer, category search. You want to know what category to put your book in. And for Amazon, you can use up to 10 categories. This is just another way to search for a reader to search for your book. And this is AMS, this is your advertising keyword search. It just give you thousands of keywords to look at. But if you want to start free, cheap, keywordtool.io is free. And Google AdWords is another free source. If you just put in like aging, there will be a whole list of words that pop up. All right, so that's keywords. Keywords are so important. BookBrush. This is also, they have a free version on BookBrush. I bought into this because this also helps in advertising. If you want to put an ad on your Facebook author page, this helps with that. But like I said, I paid for this, but there's also Canva. Canva has a free, actually I think BookBrush has a free part of it too. But Canva is free, where you can make your own, if you're artistic at all, you can make your own design. And like this one right here, and these are Pixabay pictures that this author caught on, uploaded and used free of charge, and then this author just went ahead and put the name of the book and everything. So it's very easy to use. Okay, these 101 things for you to sign up for. KDP, of course, your Author Central. You cannot sign up for Author Central until you have your book up on Amazon. But then once it's up, you need to immediately go to Author Central book.amazon.com and do your author page there. And then every book you do after that, you link it to the Author Central. If you have a website or a blog, it can also be linked there too. Ingram Spark, I used to use it all the time for everything, but now I only use it if I want to do a hardback. There is a charge to upload. KDP is free all the time to upload anything. Ebooks, audiobooks, whatever, it's always free. Ingram Spark, there's a $49 charge for an initial upload, and if you have any revisions, it's another $25. However, they do offer a lot of codes, special codes. Right now until the end of the year, I think there's a self-pub. You just do all capital letters, self-pub code in there. Draft to Digital is a really neat online program where you upload your Word document and they will organize it into a PDF. They will do a Mobi for your ebook, and they will also do the, what's the other one? EPUB. They'll do that all for you, and then they send this out to, I know there's Tolina. I've never heard of that, but my book is on Tolina. It's on Barnes & Nobles through them. It's on Kobo, on the, what is it, Apple Books. You can do all of that through them. Amazon is not going to put your book out to Barnes & Nobles or Apple Books. I never knew there was an Apple Books, or is it iBooks? I don't know what it is. But anyway, that's and here it's free to upload, but there's I think it's like a 7% royalty that they take from your books that are sold. If you want to get into audiobooks, I've only done my first one I did is an audiobook. Did it all the wrong way, but it's still up there. There's Find Away Voices, and you go to Find Away Voices. It's not cheap, but there are people who will audition to read your book. If you want, maybe it's a book about maybe a grandmother is telling her story. Well, you want a voice that's older. You want a woman, or maybe it's a teenager telling a story, or a story of a teenager. You want a younger voice. So you can audition these voices, and you pay by the finished hour. So I think my book ended up being 5.5 hours of listening time. And if I'd gone to Find Away Voices, I would have had to pay maybe $200 per hour. Instead, I read it myself. And so anyway, something to be said about professional voices, though. All right, Goodreads is another thing to sign up for and to get very involved. Facebook author page, make sure you set that up. And then the last one is LastPass. I wouldn't be able to survive without LastPass. LastPass is a place to hold all of your passwords to every site that you go to. And all you have to do is learn one password for LastPass, and you go on there and you click into your Goodreads and it takes you right there. So it's really good. And that's free. Okay. Resources, again, resources galore. Just think about all the IBPA is the Independent Book Publishers Association. You do not have to be a book publisher to join that. Lots of great advice there, but it's a little costly. I think it's like $125 a year, something like that. And you'll get all Ingram Spark, you get free uploads and free revisions with their code there all the time. Jane Friedman is an awesome resource. Okay, I'm kind of going, we're winding down a little bit here. Social media, oh my goodness. Don't try to do all this at one time, because to me, it's just mind-boggling. I think it's important to have your Facebook author page, have a blog or a WordPress. Mine is a WordPress, and it's just judywaters.com. So whatever you decide to do, whatever social media you do, consider this. You need to be active. You need to get to know people. Twitter, that's a very social place, and they get to know you. You get in groups there. Pinterest, all of these are very, it's not like you're going in and saying, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. You don't want to be constantly hawking your book. That's not what social media is all about. It's about helping others and giving out the information and asking questions and getting to know the people. So I would choose 2 or 3. I'm on Facebook. I don't do Twitter. I have an account, but I don't do well. I do LinkedIn. That's more of a professional site. I got on there when I was a teacher and a principal, but I'm still there with my books. Of course, I'm on YouTube. I don't know if you picked up on that, but I'm definitely on YouTube. Instagram, I'm never on Instagram, but pick 2 or 3 of these and do it well. And once you get it down, then move on to another one. Okay, I did do a low content book a couple years ago called My Self-Publishing Organizer. This is, and I just put up a couple pages here. This is just a place for you to hold all this stuff. There's a sample copyright page in there. There's a glossary in layman's terms of what all these different terms are, you know, your LCCN, your ASIN, your ISBN, all of that, all your metadata. There's a glossary that, because I wrote it, anyone could understand it. So, okay, so enough said. Public, whatever. Okay, don't get discouraged. I just have to caution you. I know I've thrown a lot at you tonight, a lot. But don't get discouraged. How many publishers rejected famous books? Think Harry Potter, 12 publishers rejected it. And they told the author to stick to her day job. Chicken Soup for the Soul, 140 rejected that book. And they said, anthologies don't sell. The Help, did any of you read The Help back a few years ago? 60 publishers said, and they said there's no market for this kind of tiring writing. Can you imagine? Twilight, and I have to kind of confess here that Twilight, when my daughter wanted it years ago, went to Barnes and Nobles, picked it up, and I looked at the back book description, and there were like 3 or 4 grammatical errors. I'm an English teacher. How can I buy that? And I said, no, it's not worth it. Well, you see what? Well, apparently my opinion didn't matter. But 14 publishers rejected it. And they said the writing falls somewhere between amateurish and leaden. Interesting. Okay, so anyway, my last slide here, and then I'll take questions. Sylvia Plath once said, nothing stinks like a pile of unpublished writing. And if you have your Google Docs or your Word full of your writings, you need to get them out. Oh, here's a bonus tip. Bonus tip, no extra price for this. But there is something called Amazon Short Reads. So if you have a lot of those short stories, maybe even a 1-page, or you can have a 15-minute read, a 30-minute read, a 45-minute read, just short stories you can put up there and start making money. You know, on those short, now you do have to have a book cover, even though these are not printed, these are all Kindle. So you'd Google Kindle short reads, and all those little pieces that you have, throw them up there. Even if you think it's going to be part of your book, you can still get it up there. And people have, what they have done in the past, they have put different chapters in there. And then they put those chapters together and sold the book in paperback. So, all right, that's what I have tonight.